"Stop staring. If you want to, touch it," said the giant cowgirl, her voice trembling more from heartbreak than boldness. The lonely rancher froze, not understanding why someone who looked so unbreakable sounded so fragile. The wind danced between them, carrying the weight of secrets neither dared explain, and the rancher felt something shift inside him, something long abandoned. The rancher, Cole Maddox, had spent years believing silence was safer than hope. His ranch sat empty, just like his chest since he lost his family in a winter storm. He came to the abandoned canyon only to escape the noise of memories. But today, he found a woman towering on a boulder, staring at her injured horse as though holding back a lifetime of pain. The cowgirl, Rhea Wilder, was known across the frontier for her height, her strength, and the reputation of a woman who needed no one. But Cole saw beyond the rumors. Her eyes were red, her hands shaking. She wasn't asking him to touch her weapon or her horse, she meant the swelling bruise on her arm she was hiding poorly. It told a story she didn't want to say aloud. Cole reached out slowly, his calloused hand brushing the edge of the bruise. Rhea flinched, expecting judgment or pity, but he offered neither. He simply said, "Who hurt you?" His tone wasn't angry, it was gentle, almost too gentle for a man who carried grief like chains. Rhea looked away, unwilling to expose the truth. The canyon echoed with a distant thunder as Rhea finally whispered, "Someone I trusted. Someone who said he loved me." Her voice cracked like thin ice. Cole's heart tightened, he knew the ache of betrayal. He wanted to ask more, but the way she wrapped her arms around herself warned him that pushing would break something fragile. Rhea tried to stand, but her horse stumbled. She winced at her leg wound, pretending it was nothing. Cole swept her into his arms before she could argue. For a giant woman, she felt unexpectedly light to him. She stiffened at first, but then slowly let herself rest against his chest as though she hadn't been held in years. They reached Cole's quiet cabin as evening bled across the land. He built a fire while she leaned against the wall, torn between embarrassment and relief. She had spent her life proving she needed no one, yet here she was letting a lonely rancher bandage her wounds. For once, she didn't feel judged for her size or her scars. As Cole wrapped her leg, she watched his hands. Steady, careful, hands that had built and lost everything. She wondered how a man could carry so much pain and still be gentle. She wondered why all the men she knew were loud, boastful, and small-hearted, while this quiet one carried storms with dignity. Dinner was simple, beans, bread, and silence thick with unspoken truths. Rhea finally broke it. "I didn't mean to scare you earlier," she said softly. "I just didn't know how else to ask for help." Cole shook his head. "You didn't scare me. People forget that big doesn't mean unbreakable." She blinked, surprised at being understood. Night settled heavy and cold. Cole gave her the bed and took the floor. But Rhea couldn't sleep. The quiet was too gentle, too unfamiliar. She crept to the edge of the bed and whispered, "Cole, are you awake?" He was. He always was. Pain rarely let him sleep. "Yeah," he whispered back. She asked him about the family he lost. He hesitated, then told her everything, the snowstorm, the helplessness, the loneliness that followed. She listened, not interrupting, not offering false comfort. She simply listened, and it was more healing than words. Cole felt something warm return to a heart he thought dead. In the following days, she recovered slowly. They worked together in silence that turned into shared smiles, then into soft laughter. Rhea discovered she loved the way Cole's eyes warmed whenever she walked into the room. Cole discovered he loved the way her presence filled every empty space like sunlight. One evening, while fixing the fence, Ray's old wound tore open. Cole rushed to her, worry cracking through his calm facade. "You have to rest," he insisted. "You're not as invincible as you pretend." She chuckled painfully. "And you're not as alone as you pretend." Their eyes held each other long enough to spark something inevitable. But the twist struck when Ray's past returned, her ex-lover, Clay, a man bitter with jealousy. He stormed onto Cole's land, shouting accusations. Rhea moved in front of Cole protectively. Clay taunted her for choosing a nobody rancher. Cole clenched his jaw, ready to fight, but Rhea stepped forward. Clay tried to grab her arm. She shoved him back, warning him to leave. But he reached for his gun. In that tense second, Cole moved faster, knocking Clay's hand aside, sending the gun skidding. The fight was rough, desperate. Cole took hits, but he fought like a man protecting the first good thing in years. Rhea jumped in, ending the fight with strength Clay had always feared. She stood over him, breath shaking, finally realizing she was done letting him control her. Clay fled, humiliated. Rhea dropped to her knees beside Cole, tears threatening. "Why did you risk yourself?" she asked. He exhaled, "Because you matter." They returned to the cabin, bruised but alive. Rhea cleaned Cole's cuts carefully, her hands trembling. When she finished, she cupped his face gently, her first soft touch in years. "No one ever protected me," she whispered. "Not until you." Cole leaned into her touch, feeling warmth bloom again. The days after the fight were sweet, lighter, filled with healing laughter. Rhea stayed longer than she planned, then longer still. Cole rebuilt fences, Rhea rebuilt his faith. She fit into his world with surprising ease, towering over the barn doors, yet fitting perfectly into his quiet life. One morning, Rhea saddled her horse, saying she needed to return to settle unfinished business. Cole's chest tightened. He feared she'd ride away forever. But before he could speak, she placed her giant hand on his heart. "Stop staring," she said softly. "If you want to, touch it. Hold it. It's yours now." Cole pulled her into his arms, finally allowing himself hope. Rhea kissed him, careful, slow, full of promise. The ranch wind carried the moment like a blessing. She didn't ride away. She stayed. Not because she needed saving, but because she found someone who saw her strength and her softness. The ranch transformed with her presence. They repaired buildings together, shared sunrise rides, and built a life born from broken pieces that somehow fit perfectly. Rhea learned that love didn't have to hurt. Cole learned that hearts could heal even after the worst winters. Seasons passed, and the lonely ranch was lonely no more. Cole's laughter returned. Ray's scars faded into memories. They built something strong, something gentle, something both had once believed impossible. Their story became a quiet legend, how a giant cowgirl and a lonely rancher saved each other. On a golden evening, Cole looked at her with that same awe he felt the first day. Rhea smiled and whispered, "I'm glad you touched my life, even when I was afraid." Cole held her close. "I'm glad you let me." And just like that, the sadness that began their story transformed into a love strong enough to last forever. Their happy ending wasn't perfect, but it was real, two broken hearts learning they didn't have to heal alone. And in the soft twilight, the ranch finally felt like home again, because they built it together.